So he made a video. Okay. Or then he made a video. Yeah, what was this? On YouTube, yeah. Okay, so then he made another video apologising for the video before. On YouTube again, yeah. So how you spelling that? CHAP. Yeah, gotcha. No, I'll just have to make a video, won't I? Yeah. Yeah, no. Say no more. Be right on it. Sorry, just something fairly crucial came up. Anyway, I wanted to make a video because this is something that a few of you have been asking me about. How do I feel about the Chapman's gang? No, it's not. It's just talking about the looper on the HX Stomp. Obviously, I use looping quite a lot in all of my stuff, in various forms. One of the key ways that I use it is on the HX Stomp or Helix. So let's just talk quickly about setting it up. So the first thing we're probably going to want to do is actually put the looper in place. So what I would suggest is you want to be in the main, you've got 3 views or 4 views. You've got snapshot view, preset view, another preset like bank up and down view, and then you've got the switch kind of, you can set stomp view. So I would suggest, I think we need to be in the stomp view where you see the tap tuner flashing, and then go and add in the very final block. If you press this button, and at the very bottom of the list you'll see looper, and you can run that in stereo or mono. Let's go for stereo today, and then press again and it will drop in the final place. And then whilst it's still there, if you hold one of the buttons, and it will say assign block to foot switch, and then press OK. That's basically all we need to do to get a looper in place. So I'll just show you quickly the very basics of this. Essentially, what a looper is doing is taking the time between you pressing the button and then pressing it again, and it's going to repeat that forever, is the gist of the thing. So if you just listen, so we've got a continuous loop now. So once you've got a loop, it'll show a green button like that. If we press the button again, we can overdub. So I'm just going to press that button, and it should go to, turn the volume down, orange. So let's overdub something. Then we stop that overdub. You hear that still going. If I hold this button in, I can undo what I last recorded. Okay, so we now get back to the original loop. Then the other thing you do, press twice to stop the loop, press again to start it. And then if we press twice and hold, so 1, 2, nothing happens. So a quick 2 tap and then hold, it will delete the loop. So that's the very basics of the loop. Now you might want to consider changing position. It doesn't matter so much if you're using clean tones. You can put the loop at the start before the amp if you like. The reason that I generally put it at the end is because then you can switch on an overdrive or something and it won't affect the whole loop, if that makes sense. So let me just put it at the start, and then if I move this, so action, you can move it to the very start. So here it's at the start, but then if I switch on an octave or an overdrive or anything, it will affect the whole loop. So just listen. Ooh. So anything that happens in post chain is now being affected by, is also affecting the loop. So that's why I would particularly if I was using drive, I might stick the loop at the end so that when I kick on a drive to take a solo, that will bring my guitar level above the level of the loop. Other things to consider, I generally set the playback level and the overdub level at 0 dB for both, and I use the volume knob on the guitar to determine, do I need to be a bit louder. So something to consider when you start the loop, probably don't start at like your highest level, so think about your dynamics as you're recording, so you've got somewhere to go still, if that makes sense. So start off maybe playing lighter than the highest level, so that when you eventually do want to get to that highest level, your loop is not going to swamp what you're already playing. The first thing that I would practice doing, if I've got a looper, I'm just going to put it down on the floor now, is to try and get a sense of playing to a full bar. So this is the thing that I think most people kind of struggle with, is to press, you're pressing the foot switch in the traditional way at the start of the bar and then at the start of the next bar. So we kind of go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. So the crucial thing is to kind of get that first loop that you create, practice getting that consistent and practice being confident that you're going to play that in time. The first time you try this, there's kind of two groups of people. There's people that are pretty natural with timing, and there's people that are going to have to work it on a little bit more. I'm in the latter group. Something that I've had to work on a lot and still do. So learning to execute, so you're playing on the first beat of the bar, or you're pressing the record, and then also pressing the stop at the start of the next bar. So I'll just demonstrate again with something maybe slightly different. So 2, 3, 4. 2, 2, 3, 4, 1. So that was a 2-bar phrase. So whatever you're working on, try and make sure that you're pressing, and practice, throw away some loops as well. So have an idea, I'm going to try and play this little phrase, like a rhythm or something. 4, 3, 4. So record it, get it right once. It's good to get it right and have that feeling, but then stop again, because it's okay if you got it right once, that's cool. But the idea of practice is to then try and repeat that thing and do it again. So don't get too caught up in just looping the same thing for half an hour if you're still at the first stage of practicing looping. Don't be afraid to throw away a good loop and just try and play something again. So 1, 2, 3, 4. The real key to looping is go into the loop with a kind of clear tempo that you're trying to achieve. So before you press the loop, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, maybe spend a bit of time just figuring out what that groove is for. And get the feeling of the groove. and the timing, the feel of the piece, or whatever you're going to end up looping. 3, 4, 1, 2, and normally I'll kind of count 3, 4 before I'm going to press the loop. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 4. So those are a couple things to practice. With the Helix and the HX Stomp looper, I think you're limited to around 60 seconds. So doing a whole song is possibly not what you're going to end up being able to do with that. But you can do little things like 4-bar loops, which are super helpful for practicing with. You can do things like this, for example, so you could set like a kind of drum beat type thing. So so even though you don't have like a consistent kind of chordal loop through the entire song, you could have like a rhythmic idea which kind of underpins what you're playing. That's one way that I use the looper. Another thing that I do, for example, you might just do this, 1, 2, 3. So you use this kind of soft sounding metronome type feel, so it's like a pad that's repeating. What I've done is I've sustained a note and then I've pressed the looper on and off with the timing that I want. So that's one other way that I like to use a looper, particularly when you've got these shorter kind of loopers like the Helix and HX Stomp come stock with. And then also another kind of tip, so to start off with, you kind of set your grid, so something you play on maybe the 2 and the 4, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. And then add in some kind of rhythmic stuff to that grid. And so, just a little quick harmonic tip, your pentatonic stuff is useful here because that's kind of a bit of an ambiguous harmonic platform, and it means you can kind of stack other chords and they don't get in each other's way too much. Things to avoid would be like obvious thirds, so so when you're starting out with, if you're trying to do like a loop that you could generally kind of take anywhere, things like fifths are kind of more useful, I think. So those are just a few of my first ideas. I wanted to get this out there and just talk about it in general. Drop some questions, and I'm hoping to do some more tips like this if they're helpful. Let me know what you think. And I've just discovered the 6-button looper on the Helix, so I might do some stuff on that. But if you've got questions, let me know what you want to know in the comments. The idea is to try and show some of my ideas and why I think looping's a useful tool. So this is kind of step 1 in that direction. So I'm happy to answer questions on this stuff and do further videos. I just wanted to show you quickly an introduction into the looper and some of the ways that I like to use one in my own practice and performance. So hopefully that's useful. If you want to like and subscribe, that would really help me out. And as I say, I'm trying to make this like a useful channel for people, guitarists like yourself, hopefully, to stop by and maybe learn a thing or two occasionally. So yeah,